Okay, so our shir this evening will be about the free will. The free will, we mentioned in the former classes that Hashem created man in his image, and the meaning of this is not physical image, but there is some similarity between Hashem and a human being. The similarity practically is in one thing that it's divided to two. Rashi said, "B'tzalmeinu kidmutenu, na'aseh adam b'tzalmeinu kidmutenu, lehavin u'lehaskil." That dmut is similar, dome. In what way? That a human being is an intelligent creature. But the practical manifestation of this haskala, of this knowledge, being a person, a creature that could understand, is for choosing, and this is also something exclusive to human being, that only human being has a free will. All the other elements that Hashem created, the spiritual or the physical, are robots. They're pre-programmed, they do not have free will. So I want to analyze today what free will, what is the free will. It's very important, even the awareness of how we make decisions about things could put us in very significant high level than before we are aware of it. Okay, so let's go to the major sources. So when Hashem created man, it says, "Vayitzer Hashem Elokim et ha'adam afar min ha'adama, vayipach be'apar nishmat chayim." A human being is a combination of two things, physical and non-physical. The physical is the body, which made out of dust from the ground, and then Hashem put in this physical body a neshama, a soul. There is a very interesting pasuk in Kohelet. Kohelet is Shlomo HaMelech. The Tanakh says about him that he was the wise person ever. V'Hashem natan chokhmah l'Shlomo. Hashem gave chokhmah to Shlomo HaMelech. And in Sefer Kohelet called Kohelet because Shlomo HaMelech was gathering people to share with them his wisdom. He was not selfish. Hashem gave him wisdom, he shared it with people. The entire book deals with life, the meaning of life. So here we have an opportunity to learn what the wisdom says about life. And you read the book, this book in the beginning was so difficult to understand that it was a question if it's good that it will be in the Kitvei HaKodesh, in the Tanakh, because some people could get confused from it. So one of the things that Shlomo HaMelech says, and we have to understand it, is it seems so not clear. So he compared a human being to an animal, and he said there is no superiority, no benefit, nothing is no major difference between a human being and an animal. And of course, it's very difficult to understand. What do you mean? Human being is an intelligent creature, and Shlomo HaMelech was the best of it, so how could he say that there is no difference between human being and animal? But this is part of the entire book that need explanation. And there are meanings to every details that he mentioned. So Chazal add, I don't know if it's in all the minhagim, but some people in the morning quote this pasuk in Birkas HaShachar. Right. So Chazal add to this few words. Umotar ha'adam min ha'behema ayin, levad ha'neshama ha'teora. This is not part of the pasuk. This is the explanation to explain. So, levad neshama, but the neshama. So what we have to know a few things. First of all, neshama is something exclusive to human being only. Animals doesn't have a neshama. But it's confusing because I guess people heard about reincarnation, and if you heard about it, it's mentioned in the Kabbalah books that it could be even in animals, it could be even in plants, it could be even in inanimate. So the meaning of this, and people also mix the neshama, the notion neshama with the notion nefesh. And two different things depend in the context. So neshama is an exclusive thing that only human beings has. Nefesh is the power of life. So any animal and even plants, they need what makes the difference between a flower that is alive or dead is the koach hachayim, the power of life. The power of life is in the nefesh, not in the neshama. The neshama is bigger than this, and it's exclusive only to human being. And the neshama has 5 parts. Naran chai, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, v'yichida. Those are the initials of the levels of the neshama. So the explanation in the pasuk is when Shlomo HaMelech said that there is no superiority between Adam and animal, between human being, he speaks only about the common denominator with the physical. We have a body, the animals have a body. All the physical needs are in common between us and the animals. Meaning, the need to eat, the need to drink, the need to sleep, the need to be in the right temperature. It's not a spiritual need, it's a physical need in order for the body to survive. So in those, there is no difference between human being and animal. It means that when you speak about human character or human needs are only the one that we could find in the man but not in the animal. Anything that in common is not in us. Again, let me use this example to be clear. When I say I want to eat, I need to eat. This need is not a human need. It's a physical need. It's in us because we have a physical body. If you talk about human needs are only the needs or the thing that belongs to a human being and not to animals. Those are justified to call human needs. For example, the need to be there is a spiritual need for truth, for meaning. We find it in human beings, not in animals. So those are human needs. But through this, I want to go deeper to understand the free will field and how it works. So if we take a human being and divide it in this tablet to two tablets, okay? Two columns over here. Up here we will write dust of earth, which is the body, and over here we write soul of life. Afar min ha'adama and nishmat chai. Now let's try to analyze how we operate. When we do something, how we operate, and where is our humanity comes to the picture. So remember that what Shlomo HaMelech says, that in this column, which is the material, there is no difference between human being and animal. So I'll start from this with the common things, try to understand the mechanism, and then we'll go to here, to the neshama. Because the body is a material, let's go to the next line. A body limited by time and space. In the timeline, we have this line of the timeline, and we have on it 3 imaginary points: past, present, and future. If you ask where is the material exist on this line, only on one point, here, in the present. The past is over. The future is not here yet. So all what you have is the now. So if you ask yourself, where is the material? In this, again, in any material in the world, in the human body, in the animal body, in any material. So material is limited to be here, in the present. The other frame where the material exists is the space. The space is the room, technically, that could give the material ability to exist. In Hebrew, space called makom, and makom comes from the word lekayem, as to exist. As the Mishnah says, "En lecha davar she'en lo makom." There's no thing that doesn't have a place. With no place, there's no existence. The space makes every material here. So the time makes every material now, and the space makes every material here. Here and now. The here and the now are the frame where the material is existing, okay? Now let's go to the Hebrew language. I'll show you something really amazing. I mean, we spoke many times about the wisdom in the letters and the combination of the letters of every word in Hebrew. So how do you say the material in Hebrew? How do you say it? Chomer. Chomer is a material. The main letters in the word chomer are the letters chet, vav, and resh in this order. First chet, then vav, then resh. Now, if you ask yourself, what are the implications of the fact that every material is limited by time and space? The answer will be, the essence of it is choser, which is a lack. Choser. Let me explain what I mean. A material, the simple material, is a raw material. Raw material, you have the material of it, and even a raw material has a frame, has a tzura, has a frame. It's in this shape, but it's not significant shape. Therefore, it's a raw material. When you have a material with non-significant shape, it, like you said, that there is a need of the material, a yearning to get a significant shape. Of course, just in our way to describe it. But the material will fulfill its potential when it will get a significant shape. For example, if I take a piece of wood, made out of it a chair, so now it's a chair. Before that, it was just a piece of wood or a table. Meaning when it's fulfilling its potential, when it's serving a significant purpose, right? Without it, there is a lack. I hope I pronounce this right in English. Lack. Okay, there is a lack. The lack in Hebrew called choser. When I need something, I'm chaser. I don't have it. So be aware of the fact that those letters, chet, vav, and resh, are in Hebrew, are in the letter chomer, and in its essence, which is the choser. In this order. If you don't take those letters by themselves, they will create another word in Hebrew, which is whole. Chol. Chol is a whole. Whole is a place that need to be fulfilled. Okay. Now, let's go back to our two columns about the two parts of the human being, the body and the soul, okay? So, the left column is dust from earth, which is the body. So the body, we said, is a material. Therefore, the material, the essence of the material, that it needs a completion, which is the tzura, which is the frame, and by its essence, it's lack. There is something that's missing. Now, the fact that the material is limited by time and space, and this is its essence, this essence has a tendency. And if we understand it, we'll understand how material works. Let's take the body of the human being and the animal, right? In order to exist, technically, physically, we and the animal need to drink, need to eat. Without it, we're gonna die. Now, when you say you want to eat, you want to drink, it's not accurate because you do not want. You have to. You have to. The natural state, be aware of this, the natural state of a human being and animal, let me ask you, are we naturally hungry or satisfied? Hungry. Yeah, what is that's true. What's the proof? The proof is very simple. Are we naturally satisfied or thirsty? Tired or not tired? So I could prove it easily that the natural state of a human being or animal is when we thirsty, hungry, and tired. The proof is the following. When I feel hungry, I need to do something in order not to be hungry. I have to eat. I have to drink. After I ate, I don't have to do anything to be hungry again, just to wait. So you're going automatically to your natural state, and the natural state is the lack. So this is our natural state, and we need always to maintain it, to fulfill it. But even if you were very tired and slept 12 hours, again, you do not have to do anything to be tired again. Just you have to wait or come to a shear, and then you'll feel that you're tired. So this is the natural state. The natural state is the lack, as this is physical. So when, and Hashem created the system in a very amazing way. Let's take this need of the material to be fulfilled and compare a human being who is hungry or satisfied to a car that has an empty tank of gas or full tank of gas, right? So when you're hungry, the gas is in the bottom. When you put the gas in the gas station and fill your tank, right? You start driving, it's gonna be empty. So a human being is like, a body of a human being is like a tank of gas of a car. But in a way, a little bit even worse. Why? Because if you just left the gas station and your tank is full, it could stay full. But if you eat and you're full, again, it's going to go automatically to be not full, because this is the tendency to go back to its natural state. So what happened when you ate, you satisfy, and then time passed and you feel hungry again? What happened in the tank, in the car? It's going down, 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 and there is a indicator, right, for the driver. Listen, your tank is become empty. But there is something amazing that Hashem created in the system. It could happen. You could go and see in the roads car just on the side of the road stuck. What happened? Not an accident, nothing. Just the gas ran out, right? So if the driver is responsible, it will never happen because you always be aware of it before it happened. It will fall. But you could ignore it. You could ignore it, and you end up with no gas. Hashem thought that it's very important not to build a body of a human being the way the makers of the cars made the gas indicator. Why? Because you could ignore it. Hashem put in us an alarm system that you could not ignore. And it doesn't matter what, you could not ignore it. What happened if you didn't eat one day? You feel weak. You continue not to eat. The pressure is going harder and harder until you get to the point that you cannot function at all. It doesn't matter how busy you are. You must stop and eat. So this was made inside the system in order to protect the system, that we'll never get to the red line, because the red line is fatality. So how it works? When I say I do something, why do I do things, physical things? Not because I want, because I have to. Because I have to. Now, if you realize this, you could analyze that many things that we do in the physical realm are something that you do not choose to do, you have to do. And if not, the system will force you to do it, right? So in this box down, we'll add another thing, which is pressure, right? Because the body, by its essence, going to the natural state, which is lack, before it will get there, when it's going down, there is a pressure. And the more you close to the red line, the pressure is harder and harder in a way that you could not ignore it. In a way, that was enough in order to make sure that the material of the body will stay okay. Because you ignore the temperature, you will get either too hot or too cold, you could not stand it. So you'll go back. But Hashem thought that it's not enough. So he did something amazing in addition to the pressure, in order to make sure that you will function, you'll not ignore your physical needs. You know what is this? Aside from the pressure, what happens when you very hungry and you start eating? There is something, maybe you heard about it before, called pleasure. When you fulfill the need, there is a pleasure. There are many physical needs. Let's talk about one of them that it's easily be understood. When you're hungry, really hungry, and you eat something that you like, you enjoy it? Yeah, usually, right? It's not hard. People could relate to this. The pleasure is helping us or pushing us to fulfill the lack. The pressure is not enough. Apparently, why? If there is a pressure, why do you need also a pleasure to encourage it? Right? But Hashem thought it's needed. And therefore, when you eat, you feel pleasure. But here, let me ask you a very sophisticated question. This pleasure that we have from fulfilling any physical need. Let's talk about food, okay? Easy to talk about this. When people are hungry, they eat a good food that they like, their favorite food, it's fresh and it's good, they enjoy it, right? This pleasure that we're getting out of eating food when we're hungry, is this pleasure a mean or a goal? What do you think? It's not easy to answer this. Is that a mean or a goal? I mean, the pleasure itself is a goal or a mean? So many people will say in our society, it's a goal. People eat for having fun. Again, think about other physical needs. The pleasure that comes from fulfilling it, it's a goal. Of course, in the material society like we have fun. Never heard about this? So spiritual, guys. Have fun. What people... Fun is a value by itself, right? It's the purpose of life. And many people think, what is fun? There are different kinds of fun. But for the vast majority of people in the Western society, fun is physical fun. Whatever, in what area you want, but in the physical realm, this fun is the goal of life for many people. And this is a mistake. And again, we could prove it easily that it's a mistake. This pleasure is a very, very nice thing, but it could be very dangerous. And I'm not exaggerating. First of all, let me prove that the pleasure that we have from fulfilling any physical need. We're talking about food as an example. This pleasure could not be a goal. Its place in the reality is a mean. What is the proof? When you're very hungry, you eat your favorite food. You enjoy it? Yes. When do you enjoy it the best? In the first bite or when you finish your meal? When the pleasure is in the highest point, in the first bite. When you start eating. When you continue eating your favorite food, what's happening to the pleasure? It's going down. When you ate and you could not eat anymore, you're not enjoying it anymore. And if someone will force you to eat your favorite food when you fall, it will become a torture. What that proves? That it's a mean. Because if it's a goal, it should be in the highest point when you're satisfied. Right? So remember this. And this is a mistake that most of the people do. And this is not just by food. Every physical need. When the lack is in the biggest state of it, the pleasure is the highest. When you start to feed the pleasure, the need, the pleasure going down, 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 down until it disappears. So it shows that this pleasure in the system is just to encourage you. The pressure is not enough. To encourage it, fulfill it. When you fulfill it, you'll get a lot of pleasure, and the pleasure going down until it disappears. In a materialistic society, they try to put this pleasure not in its place. Artificially, they try to put it as a goal. Like I said before, if you ask any American in the street, what's the purpose of life? Out of 10 people, 9 will tell you fun. I mean, everyone has his own fun, but the bottom line is fun. And when they say fun, they usually mean physical fun. So it's a goal. It's a purpose. There is a problem with this. What is the problem? Technical problem, logical problem. I'm not talking about religion or moral. What's the problem? Because the fact and the reality that this pleasure is only to encourage you to fulfill the need, there is a very sad equation over here for people who think the purpose of life is physical pleasure. What's the problem? Because it's just to encourage you to fulfill the lack. You could enjoy, listen to this sentence, you could enjoy physical pleasure only when you do not have it. When you have it, it's not interesting to you. Think about food. When you could enjoy food? When you're hungry. When you're not hungry, it's not interesting. And it's not just food. You could enjoy physical pleasure only when you're hungry, when you're missing something. When you fulfill it, it's not there anymore. So how the Western society could make this artificially alive, this philosophy, that the purpose of life is pleasure, when pleasure, you could enjoy it only when you do not have it. And in our society, we are living in a very fancy, high society. You could fulfill every physical need easily. Easily. And when you fulfill it easily, it's not interesting anymore. So what do? They want to make this philosophy that physical pleasure is the purpose of life. You could have it as a pleasure only when you're missing it, but you easily could be reaching it, right? So you could not be happy, you could not have pleasure. Look what did they do, and this is so cruel. It's so true. If you remember history, I don't know which school you went to, but I remember when we learned about the history of the Greeks at the time when the Greeks were the superpower in the world, right? They put, the Greeks and then the Romans put hedonism or physical pleasure as their philosophy. This is the purpose of life. It started there, right? So I remember reading about, learning about high society, rich people in Rome. They want to have fun. So they did the party. They invite to the party only very few people, exclusive thing, right? So 10 people came to this party, all rich, and they want to have fun. So what they have for fun? Food, fancy food. A lot of it. Fancy food. They start the party, they start eating. Okay, they ate, first course, second course. How much they could enjoy the food? What's the problem? After you enjoy food when you're hungry. After you eat, especially if you have a lot, right? It's not interesting anymore. So the disgusting thing that I heard about, until today, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm too sensitive. Because they were rich, they have servants. And the servants, one of the servants was chosen according to the length of his fingers. So when they ate and they could not eat anymore, and they want to enjoy the food. So they caused themselves to throw up, because you could not enjoy food when your stomach is full, right? So they caused themselves to throw up, and they have another empty room, and they continue to eat, to enjoy the food. Those who are too sensitive, their servant will do this for them. They put their finger in their throat and then cause them to throw up. Right? It's disgusting. It's very disgusting. I never understood how someone who ate and throw up could eat in the next 3 days. But maybe I'm too sensitive. But that's not, it's not just this what make it disgusting. What makes it disgusting? The entire philosophy. See, they have a problem that I pointed out before. You could enjoy physical joy only when you missing it. When you fulfill it, it's not interesting anymore. So the philosophically disgusting here is, I want to enjoy physical pleasure. And I will not anyone to prevent me, I will not let anyone to prevent me from doing it, even the nature itself. And if the nature will force me, I will force the nature by throwing up to make artificial room in order to continue eat or enjoy food. This is disgusting. This is a perversion. Now, if you think it belonged back then to the Romans and the Greeks at the old time, you have no clue how the Western society tricked us today. Again, what's the philosophy today? The common philosophy. What's the purpose of life? Have fun. What kind of fun? In most of the cases, physical fun. Problem is that you could enjoy it only when you do not have it. And today you could have anything that you want in a second. So how do you gonna maintain this philosophy? By causing artificial luck. Artificial luck. Let me give you an example. Who could be considered a person that made it in life today? A person who had a lot of money, a lot of real estate, and a lot of, possessions.
Trump.
Yeah, a person that have a lot, okay? Now take, this philosophy is the philosophy for everyone. Everyone wants to have a lot of physical pleasure. But you have it. You have it easily in this generation, much easier than, let's say, 2 or 3 generations ago. Every kid today, 6, 7 years old, could fulfill his crazy wants in physical easily. Take an example, a 4 years old, go with his mother to the supermarket. His mother asked him, what kind of cereal you want? So let's go to the section of the cereal. 4 streets in the big supermarket. 4 streets of shelves with so many different kind of cereal. Just choose. Just choose. You want another one? Let's buy 2, 3. How much you could eat? Whatever you want in cereal, in cell phones, in whatever you want. Every kid almost has it. Aside from, poor people, but the vast majority of the Western society have it as kids. So let's take an adult. See how they treat us. Where do you live? Or you have a house? How many rooms? Where is it located? I have 4 rooms, very good location, enough for my family. But they told you, listen, come on. You have to go to upgrade yourself. You cannot live in this neighborhood. Go to other neighborhood. It costs more, but you know, that will give you a status. What kind of car are you driving? Lexus. Oh, do you know that there is Bentley? Oh, there is Rolls-Royce? And that my car is good enough. I don't have a Lexus. But my car is good enough. It takes me wherever I need. It's functioning right. But they convince you and successfully convince you that what you have is not enough. What kind of cell phone you have? Don't you know that it's old? It's 1 year old. There is more, something really new. You cannot live in the past. See what they do? They convince you that you need what you do not need. And that gives you the meaning of life. And this is the trick, and this is the problem with this. You could take the pleasure, and that's what the Western society do, or it starts from the Romans and the Greeks. Take the physical pleasure, make it not a mean, but a goal. But you cannot really do it, because the reality is the reality. They fake it successfully. And most of the people of the world are falling in this trap. And that's the meaning of life. To make it. What do you mean to make it? You live good. No, it's not enough. You do not know what good is. You need the updated version. If not, you're not making a progress. That's the purpose of life. So this pleasure could be very dangerous. In a way, Hashem created it in order to encourage it, and I proved it by food, but it's the same for every physical pleasure. And it comes from the fact the material is limited by time and space. So the essence of it is the lack. And the lack is in order to fulfill it, but in the reality, to be just a tool in order to carry the real you, which is not your body, but your higher level. Many people do not know that they have higher level. Many people do not know that there is a soul. And even those who know or heard about it, they have no clue what is it and how to relate to it. So they ignore it. They live their life, the entire life, in the physical realm like super animal, intelligent animal. Very sad. Let's go to the other column, to the other side. This is this side, the left side that we just analyzed now, is in common between us and animals. As we say, according to the Torah, neshama is something exclusive that only human being has. The problems to relate to it is we could not see it in our physical eyes. We cannot have access to it through our physical senses. The only way to know about it is through thinking or spiritual messages, and we got it from Hashem. How do we know that there is a neshama? Because Hashem gave us the Torah. The creator of the universe told us that you are not just a physical entity, you are a combination of physical and spiritual. Hashem gave us instructions in the Torah how to operate our entire system in harmony. First of all, there is a spiritual dimension in every human being, but it's not exist by itself. It's when you're alive, it's connected to your physical body. So the art of life is to be aware of it and to know how to operate in the right way with the physical. What do we know about the soul? So in a way, from our research, we could not know too much about the soul. As I said, many people who have ability to think, not convinced that there is such a thing altogether. And if there is, what is it? How to relate to it? The Torah that Hashem gave us give us the answers. And the answers are very amazingly similar. The way the spiritual and dimension in you functioning, very similar to the physical. But it started from two different places, but the system or the mechanism is almost the same. Let's go back to this tablet. Let's go to this column of the soul. How do you say soul in Hebrew? Neshama. As I said before, the neshama has 5 levels. Let's repeat them. Initials in Hebrew are Nun, Reish, Nun, Chet, Yud. Naran, Chai. Imagine a building with 5 floors. Every floor has a name. The bottom floor is called Nefesh. This is the Nun, Nefesh. The floor above, second from down, is Ruach, Naran, Ruach. The floor above it, the middle in the 5 floors, Neshama, even though the entire system called Neshama. So again, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Naran. Then the 4th floor called Chaya, Chet, Yud, Hey. And the top floor called Yechida, Yechida. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. In that when you go to it, to details, but in many places in the Torah, meaning different levels of the Torah, the Pshat, the Remes, the Rash, and Sod, sometimes it depends on the context. It relates to the neshama as one of those 3. Many times, like a nefesh in the Torah, nefesh, or ruach, or neshama, not chaya and yechida. Chaya and yechida are notions that mention the Kabbalah. But in the Torah, in the Divrei Nevi'im, in the Hebrew, sometimes you relate to the entire thing as a ruach, as a nefesh, as a neshama. Okay? Now, if you remember, when we talked about the material, we said the material is limited by time and space, right? And how do you say material in Hebrew? Chomer, chomer. And the letters are chet, vav, and resh in this order. First chet, then vav, then resh. What we know about the neshama is just the opposite of the body, in the entity, in the essence of it. So, how do you say neshama in English? In Hebrew? Material is limited by time and space, we said, and this is chomer, right? The spiritual dimension called ruach, ruchani, spiritual. How do you say spiritual? Ruchani. So the spiritual, if you look here, you find out that chomer, we have first the chet, then the vav, then the resh. But in ruach, it's just the opposite. First the resh, then the vav, then the chet. Right? It shows that chomer and ruach are two opposite things. So now, if you want to learn about the entity and the tendency of the spiritual, which is the ruach, learn carefully what the chomer is, which is accessible to us, and turn it over, and then you'll find what the soul is. Right? Because the ruach has those same letters, just in reverse, right? So the material is limited by space, the spiritual is unlimited by space. The material is limited by time, the ruach is unlimited by time. So in the essence of them, they are just the opposites. If so, let's go back to our tablet and you'll see an amazing thing. Material is limited by time and space. It caused in it something that we could call choser, which is lack, a hole. In the other side, the ruach is just the opposite. So the spiritual doesn't have a lack. What is the opposite of lack? Complete. Complete. So the neshama is complete and the body is missing, right? We try to understand how the body works, and we saw, because the basic status of it is the lack, therefore there is a pressure when it goes, before it's got to the red line, a pressure to fulfill the need. So the fact that the material has a lack caused it to go to action and to fulfill the lack. If the spiritual is just the opposite, it's complete. If it's complete, apparently it seems that it's a recipe for doing nothing, because it's complete, right? Not true. The same way you have pressure over here caused by the lack, there is also a pressure here caused by the complete. How? How? If it's lack, I understand that there is a pressure to complete it. But if it's complete, what's pressure? What kind of pressure? And here we're going to be aware of something amazing. Imagine a balloon. A balloon. If you blow into the balloon, you make it big, full, right? Full of air. It's complete, it's full, right? But there is a pressure. If you open it, it will all go out. So there is a pressure. The pressure comes from the fact that it's so full. So there is a need to release the fullness inside and radiate it. And here's the secret. The difference between physical and spiritual. Physical is limited by time, by space, let's say. Okay, let me give you an example with just showing it to you. You see, there is a liquid over here in the cup. I could take this liquid and pour it to different vessels. What will be the outcome? There must be any drop that will be poured to a different cup, let's say, will be missing from this one. Because the drop is physical, and physical limited by space, and it could not be in two places in the same time, right? Let's show it to you. See, it's missing. It's true for anything, not just for liquid. Any physical thing, when you have it and you give it to someone else, you know what, let me show you, let me give you this example. Imagine I'm a billionaire, and I'm good-hearted. And I'm aware that not every person in the world is lucky like me, and there are people who really need money. So I come to you and ask you, tell me how much money will make you happy. take you out from the current problem that you have now. And it doesn't matter what number you write down on a piece of paper. Give me the piece of paper. Tomorrow morning, write down your bank account. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, you'll have this amount in your account, coming from my account. And I have no problem because I have plenty. How much I give you, I'll not be poor. Don't worry about it. But the rule is, any penny, any dollar that go to your account will be missing from my account. It will not make me poor, but it will be missing for sure, right? And this is true to money, to any physical thing. Now let me show you something amazing. If I have knowledge, I know something that you do not know and you want to know, and I'm kind enough to share it with you. I could teach you something that you never knew before, and you'll be very happy with this. Am I gonna be missing it after I shared it with you? No. See? It could not be in physical. Actually, it depends what kind of knowledge. If I know, let's say, the secret of Coca-Cola, and I share it with you, that will be missing from me, because I will not be the only one who could make this product. But if I give you not physical knowledge, not physical knowledge, I give and give and give, and not just that I'm not missing anything, I will make myself understanding what I'm teaching even better than I thought, because the fact that I taught you forced me to understand it even better. That could not be in the world of physical. Physical is limited by time and space. Any physical thing could not be in two places at the same time. And if it will move, it will be missing from the original point. Not by spiritual. So, and more than that, knowledge, let's say, I'm talking about real knowledge. Meaningful knowledge, spiritual knowledge, the truth that Hashem gave us. When you learn it, you have a pleasure. At least intellectual pleasure. It's more than that. It's spiritual pleasure too. But at least intellectual pleasure. And it's endless. And the more you know, you strive for even more. When you eat food, at a certain point you cannot eat anymore. When you learn, the more you learn, you want to learn even more. Because you understand that you thought you know, but now you know how much you do not know. Therefore, you want more and more and more and more, and it's endless. More than that, there is a pressure in me when I know something to share it with other people. Why don't you know it? So this is a pressure that comes from inside out. See, it's similar. Pressure, but where the source of this pressure? This comes from the missing, this comes from having. And let's now stop over here and put a human being in the right way in the world. Look at this. Here's a human being, if you didn't realize. I know, usually that's not the way to draw a human being. I purposely did it this way, because in those two boxes I put the two parts of the human being, the body and the soul. Okay? This is the body down here, and this is the soul up there. So this is, a human being is a combination of a body and a soul. So this is a human being. Now let's put this human being in the world. Okay, this is the world, and this is a human being. What are the relationship, the interaction between the human being and the world around? There are two directions. If you're talking about the material by its essence has a lack. Therefore, the entire relationship between the body and the world around is taking from outside in. Okay? That's called, in psychology and philosophy, egoism. I am the center. Everything around me is to take from it to fulfill my needs. The attribute of taking, and because we have a body, this is the source, the root of taking. Why I want to take? Because I feel missing always. I feel it because this is the essence of my material part, of my material dimension. But there is another way, another arrow that goes instead from outside in, just in the opposite direction, from inside out. That's called altruism. I want to give because I cannot keep it for myself. I want to share it. So there is a pressure because I have a lot. And anytime I give, I feel that I want to give even more. So, see, two different forces in a human being comes from the fact that a human being is a combination of a body and a soul. So from one side I want to take. Who wants to take? The body. And the other side I want to give. Who wants to give? The neshama, the soul. So there is a pressure. Even here, in the upper level, there is a pressure. The pressure down here is because it's missing, therefore it's taken. The pressure is cause you to bring from out in. The pressure over here, because it's so big and it's so full, you want to share. This is the altruism that wants to give. So there are pressure in both systems, right? Let's go back to the Talmud. We have a pressure here, we understand where it's coming from, right? Now what's happening when you have a pressure, you're missing something, you have a pressure, you fulfill it. You got a pleasure, right? See what's happening over here. When you have the complete spiritual dimension in you, there is a pressure to give, right? What happens when you give? There is a need to give, to share. The fulfillment of the need, meaning to share, give you a pleasure. There is a pleasure. When I teach something someone, and he got it, I feel happy, I feel satisfied. He got it. He gained what I gave him. There is a pleasure? Yes. So the entire system down from here, if you understand where it's coming from two different opposite things. But the system works the same way. There is a pressure, there is a pressure. Fulfillment of the need of the lack, which is the need of the physical, and fulfillment of the need to give. In both it causes pleasure. But in a huge difference. This pleasure, remember we talked about it? It's limited. When do you have this kind of pleasure in the physical? Only when the lack is in the highest state of it. You completed the pleasure going down until it's disappearing. Here's just the opposite. There is a pleasure, but it's just growing. You give a little, you have a little pleasure. You give more, your pleasure is growing. You give more, it's much bigger. If I take someone and teach him Aleph Bet, that just to the letters, I'll be very happy after he will learn it. When you start read, I'll be even happier. When you read a book, I'll be even more happier. If this book revealed to him the meaning of life, I will be much more happier. If he will do something with it and improve himself and fulfill his potential, I will be very, very happy. And it's endless. It's endless. See, pleasure, fun, is the motor, is the engine of the world. But there are two kinds of pleasures. Most of the people of the world do not know about this kind. So they're channeling the entire system to the physical, and they're frustrated because after a while it's boring. I want a steady pleasure, a trustful pleasure. That could be, I could give it to myself only through this system, not through this. I have to keep my body in shape. Of course, it's a mitzvah in the Torah. To be healthy, but as a mean, not as a goal. In order for the other part to flourish. Because your body is the vehicle of your neshama. So next time you think about, I want to have pleasure, try to remember the system. Because this pleasure of the physical is really frustrating. It exists only when you do not need. It could not be a goal. It should be a mean only, not a goal. But this one is the goal. This one will give you a tremendous, endless pleasure. And that would make people happy versus people who have everything in physical and they feel empty. They feel not happy because of this. So I have a recipe for you to encourage us to choose this pleasure. What's the difference between those two? Here's the line. Look at this. The quality of the pleasure is depending by how long it lasts. Physical is very short life. You know, if I try now to remember the ice cream that I had last summer in the trip to I don't know where, I could not enjoy. I could remember the nice, pleasant feelings that I had then. But if I remember it, I just will suffer that I don't have it now. The pleasure was there, but it's over. It's dead. If I will remember not physical pleasure that I have, comes from, let's say, learn something significant, or did very special kind of chesed, of giving, even if I remember it after 12 years, 20 years, I will feel happy for what I did then, because it accumulates. Everything that I learn now is based on what I learned a year ago, 2 years ago. So the knowledge accumulates. The physical is not accumulate. It's for the minute and that's it. After that does not exist anymore. So this is the thing that if we remember, I think it could cause us improving our choices. Because when you have a conflict between physical pleasure to spiritual pleasure, come on, be a businessman. This pleasure will be temporary. This one will be permanent. So that's what we wanted to explain today, and this is the shir of today. Thank you.